Hello, Devoted.
Let's.
How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm actually still like almost fully recovered from whatever cold that was. I don't know.
Oh, that's
It took me out.
yeah, it was
Um
bad, wasn't it?
yeah, and then we skipped last week cuz we went on a nice hike and we're doing it today. Can't come tomorrow. Thanks
No,
for being flexible once again.
yeah, no problem.
Mhm. So yeah, I'm good. The only thing I could think that may be an issue is I'm at the bottom of my coffee and I may want to refill it at some point.
Oh no,
I know.
oh no. That's
But
fine.
not at this moment. So yeah,
All right. So, do you remember where we left off? Do you remember
I
anything?
really do not know. I just remember being very impacted by these statements that I want to go back through and highlight and like reread and think about because he really says a lot. What is that, buddy? You can do that, yeah. What is it?
Where's a
Oh, that I don't know at the moment.
What was I saying? What was he talking about?
We were talking about
Oh
if we
yeah.
remember where we left off. Do you?
No, but I was going to say I tried to take notes last week or a week and a half ago, and it took me like 3 hours just on the first couple paragraphs. I was like, I'm not
Oh.
going to do this.
You know, that really makes me think I should get the book and I will go through and like I like to reread and highlight
Yeah,
and then we could kind of go over some of those statements. We should really do. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that this
I
week.
you should go to your local
Yeah.
bookstore. I'm sure they'll have it. Go to a library. I'm sure they'll have it.
Oh, I got one pretty close to my house.
So do I have one walking distance. Kinda depends
Yeah.
what you call walking. About a
Yes.
mile and a half away.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I've been wanting to, and that's what listening again today I know is going to give me more. It's going to pack a punch, and I'm going to want to go back and chew on it for a little bit. It's hard to do when you just hear it.
I do remember it talking about God a lot,
Oh, yeah, I think so.
and I think
I
Jesus
think
was
that was
there
his
too.
name.
Yeah.
I think so.
All right, you
All
ready?
right. Yes, I'm ready. And remember, if we need to pause, we'll we'll do something gentle like that.
Okay, so what's this? Oh, I'm scared to use some of these. I got a lot of them.
Some of them are pretty shocking what they are, so be careful. I love
Yeah.
that.
Oh, great. I'm going
Is
to
that
be.
the sad something? Oh, now you're getting into the buttons. You better
Stop
press
it.
play button.
Stop it. Get some help.
I do need help.
Listen to him.
All right, all right.
All right, let's get started.
Uh, well, something happened. No, we're going to try it this way. I don't know how this is going to work. Look, but hmm. But yeah,
You do
guys,
whatever you want,
we're
Tonics.
going to try it this way, see how it goes.
Okay.
If I deem it a success, we'll do it from this way from now on.
Okay.
I'm not going to have the little window next to us. Okay, well, hold on. All right, here we go.
Standing back now to survey what we have said that it means to know you, the only true God, and Jesus Christ whom you have sent, we may underline the following points. First, knowing God is a matter of personal dealing, as is all direct acquaintance with personal beings. Knowing God is more than knowing about him. It is a matter of dealing with him as he opens up to you, and being dealt with by him as he takes knowledge of you. Knowing about him is a necessary precondition of trusting in him. Romans chapter 10, verse 14 says, "How could they have faith in one they had never heard of?" But the width of our knowledge about him is no gauge of the depth of our knowledge of him.
Oh.
John Owen and John Calvin knew more theology
Can
than
you hear
John
it?
Bunyan or Billy Bray.
Yes, it sped
but
up
who
for a
would deny
moment.
that
I
the
thought it
latter
was going to
pair knew their
continue.
God every bit as well as the former. All four, of course, were beavers for the Bible, which counts for far more anyway than a formal theological training.
Oh, yeah, we
If
need
the
words.
decisive factor was
we have it.
notional
Yeah, I just
correctness,
put it on.
then obviously the
Okay.
most learned biblical scholars would know God better than anyone else. But it is not. You can have all the right notions in your head without ever tasting in your heart the realities to which they refer, and a simple Bible reader and sermon hearer who is full of the Holy Spirit will develop a far deeper acquaintance with his God and Saviour than a more learned scholar who is content with being theologically correct. The reason is that the former will deal with God regarding the practical application of truth to his life, whereas the latter will not. Second, knowing God is a matter of personal involvement, mind, will, and feeling. It would not indeed be a fully personal relationship otherwise. To get to know another person, you have to commit yourself to his company and interests, and be ready to identify yourself with his concerns. Without this, your relationship with him can only be superficial and flavourless. Taste and see that the Lord is good, says the psalmist. To taste is, as we say, to try a mouthful of something with a view to appreciating its flavour. A dish may look good and be well recommended by the cook, but we do not know its real quality till we have tasted it. Similarly, we do not know another person's real quality till we have tasted the experience of friendship. Friends are, so to speak, communicating flavours to each other all the time by sharing their attitudes both toward each other, think of people in love, and toward everything else that is of common concern. As they thus open their hearts to each other.
There we go.
I just wanted to say on him talking about flavors, something that my husband and I have always talked about is when we hang out with different people, it's just a different like fruit smoothie flavor. Like we're all different fruits, and so the combination is always just a little different. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's just some we like better than others, right?
Yeah.
On the flavor. And that's what he's talking about. I just thought that was funny and cool.
Hold on.
I do find myself having to like stop myself wanting to say something about everything.
Yeah, I went back a little too
It's so
far.
good. Oh no. I wish it had a go back 10 seconds button.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
I wish it did too. Oh well, we're going to listen to that
God
flavor
is a
thing
matter
again.
of personal involvement,
Okay.
mind, will, and feeling. It would not indeed be a fully personal relationship otherwise. To get to know another person, you have to commit yourself to his company and interests, and be ready to identify yourself with his concerns. Without this, your relationship with him can only be superficial and flavourless. Taste and see that the Lord is good, says the psalmist. To taste is, as we say, to try a mouthful of something with a view to appreciating its flavour. A dish may look good and be well recommended by the cook, but we do not know its real quality till we have tasted it. Similarly, we do not know another person's real quality till we have tasted the experience of friendship. Friends are, so to speak, communicating flavours to each other all the time by sharing their attitudes both toward each other, think of people in love, and toward everything else that is of common concern. As they thus open their hearts to each other by what they say and do, each tastes the quality of the other for sorrow or for joy. They have identified themselves with, and so are personally and emotionally involved in, each other's concerns. They feel for each other as well as thinking of each other. This is an essential aspect of the knowledge which friends have of each other, and the same applies to the Christian's knowledge of God, which, as we have seen, is itself a relationship between friends. The emotional side of knowing God is often played down these days, for fear of encouraging a maudlin self-absorption. It is true that there is nothing more irreligious than self-absorbed religion, and that it is constantly needful to stress that God does not exist for our comfort or happiness or satisfaction, or to provide us with religious experiences, as if these were the most interesting and important things in life. It is also necessary to stress that anyone who, on the basis of religious experiences, says, "I know him, but does not do what he commands," is a liar, and the truth is not in him. But for all this, we must not lose sight of the fact that knowing God is an emotional relationship, as well.
On what he just said, if a man says he knows God, but he does not do what he commands or says, he is a liar. I feel like the religious mind may try and enact things God has said or commands, and apply those, but they're just religious things. They're not the more important things. Remember when Christ said to the Pharisees, "You tithe the tiniest amount, blah, 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 but you forget the more important matters." And he talks about, what did he, something like helping others, being humble. I'm really botching this up.
Mm.
I just want to say, I feel like there are commands that God says and gives that are so important to apply, you know? But then there's other things we could find in the Bible, be like, God said we can't eat bacon, and apply that in our life. And I just feel like that's a little different, you know? The more important matters are done in a person to be patient, be kind, not, like the fruits of the Spirit, rather than all these religious acts that make you holy. Are you catching my drift?
Yeah, I am catching your drift.
Okay.
I'm thinking about my own thing as well, which
Okay.
I might just stay in my head. This just, I don't have the words to express what I want to say, so, and I'm
Well,
scared I'm just going to mumble.
maybe that's what I just did.
Mm.
I feel like I really did not verbally explain what I was thinking and feeling fully, but
All right, I'll try. So in the Old Testament is we learn from our past, but Jesus made the Old Testament obsolete in a way by
I
forgiving all
believe
of our
that.
sins.
Yeah. Right.
But then I started to think, is that actually true? He didn't make the Old Testament obsolete. He just gave us a what do you call it? I don't want to say a loophole because it's technically not a loophole, but we still have to
Well,
try to follow the.
he gave us a better thing, right?
But we still have to. He will forgive us.
Yes.
So now I'm thinking, eating bacon is against. It says that is bad in the Old Testament.
Mm-hmm.
So
I know
now
there's certain
I don't know.
I know there are certain groups that will follow that and it benefits their health and things like that, and they praise God for giving them that command. And I think that's honorable for each person to walk out their own salvation, and their own faith walk.
Yeah.
But I do really like what you're talking about, where Christ, honestly, he came and gave us a better version. Like all of that got fulfilled by him. And honestly, that dealt with a lot of external stuff. When he came, he talked about the internal life, right? He said, I know it says do not murder, which you should never. But he says, I'll tell you, if you hate someone in your heart, it's as if, that's where murder comes from. He was trying to get people into more of a focus on what's going on the inside of this cup. The outside will follow the inside, and you can do the outside stuff and still be yucky on the inside. He wants us to be whole.
was to be pretty on the inside, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just love, I always see both sides. I always, like your thought was like, well, maybe bacon is his command and to not eat, but
Yeah, I'm going to be pondering that next time I eat bacon. Am I sinning against God right now?
well, there was a moment where whoever had that vision of all the animals coming down, and God said to him, take and eat. And it was all the animals they would never eat. And he said, God, I would never. And he said, are you calling unclean what I have called clean? So it was a new day after Christ,
Yep.
But it's completely, I feel like, okay for people who do go back to those old things and want to follow. It's still beneficial to their soul, I believe, in their journey of faith to God, back to God, because
So,
we're
yeah.
either going away from God or coming back to God,
I think it was, well, I'm hope what the thing was saying more of is if God tells you to do something now, then you ignore it to do it, then you don't know God. You're a
Right.
liar. So, for example, I told you guys a story about how I felt like God spoke to me to talk to this homeless guy about the
Yes.
words. Invite him to our Bible study that I have every week at McDonald's, or I used to
Yeah.
have. And I did. I truly tried to do that. I drove by the McDonald's to see if he was in there. If he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't, I drove off. Some days I waited, some days I didn't.
Mm.
Unfortunately, I never got to invite him because my friend that I was doing the study with did not like his vibe.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
was like, so she's like, I'm not going to that McDonald's no more because I don't want him to join our Bible study.
Oh,
I'm like,
no.
that's just
Well,
so
I
horrible.
think that all those times you either waited or drove by or whatever, you were willing to do so, and I feel like that's the important matter. Of course, we care for this individual, and we hope that along their journey they had opportunities to know God. Um, that's just God reaching out to people. He does
Yep.
so. Because if I look back on how I was saved, it wasn't through any individual person at all, even though God used different people along the way. And maybe that's why you weren't able to invite him. I don't know. He probably he's gonna meet God. I'm excited someday to learn his story and how it ended up going. I think that in heaven we will be able to.
I hope so.
Yes.
All right. We know we only done 1 minute.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. We're gonna listen, and the quacker is gonna slow down.
All right, no more quackers. We're going to listen for other whole
All right.
minute, guys, without no
Whole
stopping.
minute. Okay.
Here we go.
As an intellectual and volitional one, and could not indeed be a deep relation between persons were it not so. The believer is and must be emotionally involved in the victories and vicissitudes of God's cause in the world, just as Sir Winston's personal staff were emotionally involved in the ups and downs of the war. Believers rejoice when their God is honoured and vindicated, and feel the acutest distress when they see God flouted. When Barnabas came to Antioch and saw the evidence of the grace of God, he was glad. By contrast, the psalmist wrote, "Streams of tears flow from my eyes, for your law is not obeyed." Equally, Christians feel shame and grief when convicted of having failed their Lord, and from time to time know transports of delight as God brings home to them in one way or another the glory of the everlasting love with which he has been loved, transported with a joy too great for words. This is the emotional and experiential side of friendship with God. Ignorance of it argues that, however true a person's thoughts of God may be, he does not yet know the God of whom he is thinking. Third, knowing God is a matter of grace. It is a relationship in which the initiative throughout is with God, as it must be, since God is so completely above us, and we have so completely forfeited all claim on his favour by our sins. We do not make friends with God. God makes friends with us, bringing us to know him by making his love known to us. Paul expresses this thought of the priority of grace in our knowledge of God when he writes to the Galatians, "Now that you know God, or rather are known by God." What comes to the surface in this qualifying clause is the apostle's sense that grace came first, and remains fundamental in his readers' salvation. Their knowing God was the consequence of God's taking knowledge of them. They know him by faith because he first singled them out by grace. The word know, when used of God in this way, is a sovereign grace word, pointing to God's initiative in loving, choosing, redeeming, calling, and preserving. That God is fully aware of us, knowing us through and through, as we say, is certainly part of what is meant, as appears from the contrast between our imperfect knowledge of God and his perfect knowledge of us in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 12. But it is not the main meaning. The main meaning comes out in passages like the following, from Exodus chapter 33, verse 17. "And the Lord said to Moses, I am pleased with you, and I know you by name. Before I formed you, Jeremiah, in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." From John chapter 10. "I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me, and I lay down my life for the sheep. My sheep listen to my voice. I know them. They shall never perish." Here God's knowledge of those who are his is associated with his whole purpose of saving mercy. It is a knowledge that implies personal affection, redeeming action, covenant faithfulness, and providential watchfulness toward those whom God knows. It implies, in other words, salvation, now and forever, as we hinted before. Being known.
Perfect place to stop.
We did good.
Yep, that was the next section. We did it. We went through a whole section. Yay. So any thoughts?
I would totally highlight the part where he's talking about just God knowing us, that providential protection, all those things. I would definitely highlight and chew on that. It's there to just give us peace.
Yeah.
It's to give our souls rest that we know our lives are in God's hands. And I love God for that. He truly is, he gives comfort.
Yeah, see, I just love the whole, like, he knows us before we even know ourselves,
Yeah.
so to speak, yeah. And change the subject. Your TV freaks me out. I see the reflections. I look behind me, and
Oh, I know.
I
Hold
don't
on.
know
I was
why.
being tapped on the shoulder too. What's up, bud? You're hungry? Oh, my tea's ready? Okay, I will come get it in a moment. Thank you.
Ooh,
I
tea.
know. We got little gremlins running back and forth. Do you have any thoughts?
I just said mine, which I
Okay.
just like that. So I wish I could flip the book while I do this, because I like to break our conversations into sections, like,
Yeah.
so we can just hear the whole thing. Even can we try it with this section? See what happens.
Yeah.
So that means no ducks,
See. Okay, no ducks at
no
all.
quacks.
We're gonna see how long it takes. Can I go get my tea?
Yeah, go get your tea.
Okay. I'll be
I'll
right back.
entertain them somehow.
Okay.
I'll do a little dance. Do, 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 do. Sorry, guys, you didn't need to see that. But yeah, let me try something. Do, 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 do. Hey, hey, hey. Goodbye. Not really, not goodbye. I really don't know what to say. I should go get the book and try to find where I left off, but me flipping pages is just very chaotic for me, so therefore I kind of leave actual reading or not reading on in physical form. I'll read online sometimes. Definitely read the games I play. And yeah. Point is, I want to buy the book online and do what Devoted was saying. And start highlighting, going along with the book as we read. So I can be like, hold on, there's only one paragraph left. Let's finish this paragraph. And then we'll pause it. Instead, I don't know how long it is until the next section. So, but we're going to give it a try this time. So, see how long it takes. And welcome back. Perfect
Thank you.
timing, too.
I was hoping so.
I was finishing with my rant. Not really a
Awesome.
rant, but
I hope I trust Tonix took care of everybody.
yeah, I just told them they're all bad dogs.
It's very kind of you.
Yeah. We don't want them. We don't want them to get too full of themselves.
That's hilarious.
So every now and then I have to put them down. No. So yeah. Okay, you ready?
Yes, I am.
One whole section without a pause. Here we go.
Awesome.
Oh, by the way, I'm going to claim what is a section.
Oh, perfect. I'm also looking at ordering the
matters,
book from Amazon.
All right, you do that.
Okay. All right, here we go. Starting now.
Supremely, therefore, is not in the last analysis the fact that I know God, but the larger fact which underlies it, the fact that he knows me. I am graven on the palms of his hands. I am never out of his mind. All my knowledge of him depends on his sustained initiative in knowing me. I know him because he first knew me, and continues to know me. He knows me as a friend, one who loves me, and there is no moment when his eye is off me or his attention distracted from me, and no moment, therefore, when his care falters. This is momentous knowledge. There is unspeakable comfort, the sort of comfort that energizes, be it said, not enervates, in knowing that God is constantly taking knowledge of me in love and watching over me for my good. There is tremendous relief in knowing that his love to me is utterly realistic, based at every point on prior knowledge of the worst about me, so that no discovery now can disillusion him about me in the way I am so often disillusioned about myself, and quench his determination to bless me. There is, certainly, great cause for humility in the thought that he sees all the twisted things about me that my fellow humans do not see, and am I glad, and that he sees more corruption in me than that which I see in myself, which, in all conscience, is enough. There is, however, equally great incentive to worship and love God in the thought that, for some unfathomable reason, he wants me as his friend, and desires to be my friend, and has given his Son to die for me in order to realize this purpose. We cannot work these thoughts out here, but merely to mention them is enough to show how much it means to know not merely that we know God, but that he knows us.
Oh, good.
Perfect.
Chapter 4.
Perfect.
Oh, wow, I was totally ready for a long section.
that bugged me. I love the saying where it was talking about God knows us better than we know ourselves. Our corruption, he knows more of the corruption we have than we do of ourselves.
That's sometimes hard to imagine.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we're really hard on ourselves.
Yep, and he sees more than that, and that just makes me want to be harder on myself.
That's funny. I liked when he was talking about God seeing all and being interested in us all the time type thing. And I really had to hold back from quacking because it made me think. I remember my good friend Rachel and I would be talking on the phone when we lived far from each other. And I was encouraging her about God loving her and being there always. And I said, even if you're sitting on the toilet eating a bag of potato chips, he's interested. He loves you.
Yep.
And after that left my mouth just now, I realized, you probably shouldn't have shared that, Lauren. Anyways, yeah, that was a good little section.
Yes, it was. I enjoyed it. It was short and sweet.
It was. Yeah, so I looked on Amazon and they've got a 50th anniversary edition. But I can't tell if I like that one or like I'm looking at the artistic stuff on the outside, or if I like the more, I don't know, just I don't know how to, here, I guess I could bring it over. Oh no, I can't. Yeah, I can't tell if I like this version or this version. Can you see it? Probably not. Oh, he's muted too, maybe for good reason.
Okay, there you go. It's working now.
Oh, there. Okay.
So yeah, no, let me pull the YouTube up. See if I can see it on your side.
Yeah.
There we go. I'm looking at you. Let me pull the YouTube up.
So there's this one.
See if I can see it on your side. Oh yeah.
It's nice. It's elegant.
Ooh,
And then there's this one.
I like that one. There we go. I'm looking at you.
This is the 50th anniversary one.
The YouTube.
So there's this one. Yes,
See if
I
can
think
see
I'm
it on
going
your
to.
side. Oh yeah.
It's nice. Thank you. Thank you for making that decision very easy for me.
Okay, J.I. Packer, I got another one. That's $50. We split
Ooh,
that,
really?
right? No.
Send it to my house. I will highlight and then send it to you.
I'm secretly J.I. Packer.
That's funny.
The whole reason I wanted to do this was to make a sale.
Ah, that's so funny. Ooh, I could get it delivered for free tomorrow.
Oh.
I have to do it through my phone. I'm not signed in here, and signing in is now too much trouble in the year 2024.
Yeah, who signs in these days?
Clearly not me. I haven't been signed in on my Streamlabs for a couple months now, so I can't even chat with you guys.
Yeah, same here.
It's okay. No worries.
I mean, I can chat, I just can't see. I can't just type.
Yeah, me neither.
I mean, I can see, I just can't type. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that was great. Okay, well, I'm excited. I'm going to get this book. I'm going to kind of go over what we've read. I get to highlight exciting points and maybe even look up definitions of words. I know that sounds really nerdy, but...
No? I mean, maybe, but no.
It's so ironic to me that I enjoy linguistics like that, and yet I feel such a trouble using it to convey and speak myself, but I like it. So
Ooh.
here we
Hold
go.
on. Sorry, I'm looking at stuff now.
Yeah, we got a little off track, but that's okay. So if you're just joining, we are listening to the audiobook reading of Knowing God by J.I. Packer. Like I said at the beginning of this stream, when we began, I thought it was going to be just a normal, like, modern day pastor telling us whatever, which I've read a lot of really great books like that. I've just been a little, I don't need it anymore. I'm like tired of knowing what man thinks anymore, but this has been a real treat. It was written in 18 something.
1870.
Oh, that's right. He references someone in the 1800s at one
Yes.
point.
First chapter talks about a pastor.
1978. Okay.
1978, I think.
Well,
Because it's as old as Rune is.
that's right. That's right. Well, it's been
No,
a real treat.
let's be older than 78, right?
Maybe it was 77 because he said he was 1, right?
I thought you said he wasn't even born yet. But it was on his birthday. Birth year, I should say.
Okay. Well,
But it was before his birthday.
we could look it up if we want to be accurate, but I don't think we'll be accurate on our memories alone. It's been ordered. So it'll be here tomorrow. And hopefully I'll be able to get some reading in and highlight some stuff.
Okay, I'm
For
going to be
next week.
mean and give you
What?
some homework.
Okay.
I want you to go ahead and through chapter 4 or 5 and underline breaking points. Like, okay, we're going to take a break on
Okay.
this part.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
I
we'll
could
do
do the
that.
same, but
And I could send you like a picture of the layout of it or whatever so you can get an understanding of how it is broken up if need be. Yeah, we'll do that.
all right, let's do this one more section, then I think we'll be good for today.
Yeah,
Sadly.
that sounds good. That's okay. I'm going to play video games on Twitch.
Ooh, Nightmare.
Yeah.
What is it called? What did I buy you?
Little Nightmares.
Little Nightmares. On her Twitch, yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Woo-hoo. Oh, by the way, guys, happy October.
Yes, definitely. I tried to change my colors to be a little more fall colors.
They're okay.
I know. We'll work on it.
It more looks like a,
They were all blood red, so it's better.
oh, if it was blood red, that'd be awesome.
Really?
Guys. Yeah, I'll talk about it later. Okay,
Okay.
let's get started. There we go, chapter 4.
The only true God.
The only true God.
What does the word idolatry suggest to your mind? Savages grovelling before a totem pole? Cruel-faced statues in Hindu temples? The dervish dance of the priests of Baal around Elijah's altar? These things are certainly
Definitely that one.
idolatrous in a very obvious way, but we need to realize that there are more subtle forms of idolatry as well. Look at the second commandment. It runs as follows. You shall not make for yourself an idol in the form of anything in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God. What is this commandment talking about? If it stood alone, it would be natural to suppose that it refers to the worship of images of gods other than Jehovah, the Babylonian idol worship, for instance, which Isaiah derided, or the paganism of the Greco-Roman world of Paul's day, of which he wrote in Romans chapter 1 verses 23 and 25 that they exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like mortal man and birds and animals and reptiles. They exchanged the truth of God for a lie and worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator. But in its context, the second commandment can hardly be referring to this sort of idolatry, for if it were, it would simply be repeating the thought of the first commandment without adding anything to it. Accordingly, we take the second commandment, as in fact it has already been taken, as pointing us to the principle that, to quote Charles Hodge, idolatry consists not only in the worship of false gods, but also in the worship of the true God by images. In its Christian application, this means that we are not to make use of visual or pictorial representations of the triune God, or of any person of the Trinity, for the purposes of Christian worship. The commandment thus deals not with the object of our worship, but with the manner of it. What it tells us is that statues and pictures of the one whom we worship are not to be used as an aid to worshipping him. The
That's easy
dangers
enough.
in images.
Okay, well, pause it there.
It may seem strange at first.
I mean, I've never found myself seeing a picture of Jesus and wanting to worship that picture.
Yeah.
So I think I'm free and clear on that one.
Yeah, that's what one of my pastors preached about one time is gotta be very careful when you pray in front of a cross, because you don't want to pray to the cross.
Right.
You want to pray to God. The cross has nothing
You don't
holy
need that.
about it.
Yep. You can be deprived of everything and still have full connection with God.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I like where he went with that. I wasn't sure where he was going. You know, I like to defend all people. I just wasn't sure how he was going to depict that. So.
And we made it a whole section without pausing again.
These are tiny sections. I'm curious to see how this looks on paper.
They're all tiny sections. We just pause it in the middle of a tiny section. Then talk about 20 minutes.
That's my fault.
No, not all of them are tiny. Some can be 5 minutes of reading. Some can be 1 minute. You never know.
Am I reading this correctly? We're 1 minute,
1 hour and 12 minutes.
Okay.
Out of 10 hours and 2 seconds.
We've talked about that before. It's pretty daunting.
Yes, it is.
But that's okay. We can do it.
Okay, we did 10 minutes this session.
Yeah, that's amazing. Are we at the... Yeah, we're 54 minutes in, aren't we?
We'll do one more section, then
Or whatever.
we'll call it. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
Such a prohibition should find a place among the 10 basic principles of biblical religion, for at first sight it does not seem to have much point. What harm is there, we ask, in the worshipper surrounding himself with statues and pictures if they help him to lift his heart to God? We are accustomed to treating the question of whether these things should be used or not as a matter of temperament and personal taste. We know that some people have crucifixes and pictures of Christ in their rooms, and they tell us that looking at these objects helps them to focus their thoughts on Christ when they pray. We know that many claim to be able to worship more freely and more easily in churches that are filled with such ornaments than they can in churches that are bare of them. Well, we say, what is wrong with that? What harm can these things do? If people really do find them helpful, what more is there to be said? What point can there be in prohibiting them? In the face of this perplexity, some would suggest that the second commandment applies only to immoral and degrading representations of God borrowed from pagan cults, and to nothing more. But the very wording of the commandment rules out such a limiting exposition. God says quite categorically, "Thou shalt not make any likeness of anything for use in worship." This categorical statement rules out not simply the use of pictures and statues which depict God as an animal, but also the use of pictures and statues which depict him as the highest created thing we know, a human. It also rules out the use of pictures and statues of Jesus Christ as a man, although Jesus himself was and remains man. For all pictures and statues are necessarily made after the likeness of ideal manhood as we conceive it, and therefore come under the ban which the commandment imposes. Historically, Christians have differed as to whether the second commandment forbids the use of pictures of Jesus for purposes of teaching and instruction, in Sunday school classes, for instance. And the question is not an easy one to settle. But there is no room for doubting that the commandment obliges us to dissociate our worship, both in public and in private, from all pictures and statues of Christ, no less than from pictures and statues of his Father. But what, in that case, is the point of this comprehensive prohibition? From the emphasis given to the commandment itself, with a frightening sanction attached to it, the proclaiming of God's jealousy and his severity in punishing transgressors, one would suppose that this must really be a matter of crucial importance. But is it? The answer is yes. The Bible shows us that the glory of God and the spiritual well-being of humans are both directly bound up with it. Two lines of thought are set before us which together amply explain why this commandment should have been stressed so emphatically. These lines of thought relate not to the real or supposed helpfulness of images, but to the truth of them. They are as follows. 1. Images dishonour God, for they obscure his glory. The likeness of things in heaven, sun, moon, stars, and in earth, people, animals, birds, insects, and in the sea, fish, mammals, crustaceans, is precisely not a likeness of their Creator. A true image of God, wrote Calvin, is not to be found in all the world, and hence his glory is defiled, and his truth corrupted by the lie whenever he is set before our eyes in a visible form. Therefore, to devise any image of God is itself impious, because by this corruption his majesty is adulterated, and he is figured to be other than he is. The point here is not just that an image represents God as having body and parts, whereas in reality he has neither. If this were the only ground of objection to images, representations of Christ would be blameless. But the point really goes much deeper. The heart of the objection to pictures and images is that they inevitably conceal most, if not all, of the truth about the personal nature and character of the divine being whom they represent. To illustrate, Aaron made a golden calf.
Okay. I don't know. I feel like it's going to go on for about 20 minutes now.
That's okay. I'm not 100% with him on how important it is to go over this. I feel like he's kind of scraping at, say, the bottom of the barrel or whatever. And I get it. Mankind loves to take the scripture and we can talk about it in from so many different angles. But I get certain things. I just don't think it's that damning.
Let me
when
ask you
people
a question.
do,
I want to ask you one question.
Sure.
And can you tell me what Jesus looks like?
No, because I've not physically seen him.
I mean, if you try
We
to...
have so many images, and that is what I think of, but I realize that's just, I mean, God, he was only here for 33 years, over 2,000 years ago,
And does it say in the Bible what the description of what he looks like?
I don't really know, honestly. I think it just says that he was kind of just plain. Like, we didn't consider, or at least that was a prophetic statement.
So he was a
before he was
rabbi.
born.
So therefore people believe he had a beard.
Right.
So we can see that he has a beard.
Yeah. I mean, the closest I get to is Akiana's painting. That is a relatively new thing to this earth.
Yeah.
And I would say that's probably the closest that I would imagine. Yeah, I mean, with all due respect to the author of this book, I get it. But I found myself just kind of going, I just feel like this is really of least importance to the true heart of God. And that's where I stand.
Well, I'm going to argue with you. You can stand there if you want, but
I'm standing right here.
I think there's no least point of God. All points is equal, even if we don't see it in that way.
I just don't think it's as damning as it comes off, because there are people that I know are not Christians and they use items to connect to the higher power, whatever. And I really think that God Almighty is, I mean, I believe all are going to be saved. That's my stance, that all, each in their own order, even to Satan at some point, like that's where my mind has gone. And I just, they're just higher, greater things. He's still, once again, he's in the Old Testament. He's taking something and just trying to really expound upon that thing. And I'm just not fully with them. That's all. I was just kind of like, And that's okay. I feel like I'm going to come across a lot of that wherever I am,
And
because
yeah,
that's
that's
kind of
okay.
who I am. Mhm.
Do what your heart speaks to you.
Yeah. Even my favorite book that eventually I'll get on YouTube, The Final Quest, there are things in there that I toss out. Some say you can't cherry pick, but isn't cherry picking actually a good thing? Because when you're picking cherries, you throw the rotten ones away, right? You only keep the good ones. So isn't that a actually good thing? I've never understood why people use that phrase as if you would keep everything, including rotten cherries. That's not realistic.
Yep.
That's all.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go deeper into this.
It's okay. That's just,
We have our
I
opinions.
do like to challenge certain standards, I guess.
Yeah, we talked about this in the earlier podcast as well.
Yes.
Okay, you know what I forgot to do though last week?
What?
Upload a video to our YouTube. So
Oh,
now I'm
wow.
two channels, two
They
episodes behind.
take a long time to upload, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Mm-hmm.
So I might have to edit this one down because we was AFK a lot at the
Oh,
beginning.
yeah. Those are good pieces to edit out. That's another issue when you are editing. Like, what do you take out? What do you keep?
Right.
You know? But definitely moments like that.
All right. Well, do you want to say bye to chat?
All
Bye
right.
Twitch. Yeah, bye Twitch. Your
Hi,
Twitch.
Twitch. Thanks for coming. And I will say goodbye to you, YouTube. Thanks for coming by if you did. And we'll see you on the next one.